Ronnie-Ward from the Ditmas section of the Flatbush neighborhood, Brooklyn, in the city of New York, the state of New York, United States. Well, this is the very importante. Very importante. It is very importante. Yeah, very importante. So the time is, what's it say? Oh, 5:50. Yeah, 5:50 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Saturday, the 7th day of March, 2026, or the 8th day of the state of war as declared by President Trump on our part, along with against the country of Iran. And yeah, the country of Iran. Along with our special partner, the state of Israel, our allied friends, the countries of the Gulf, and hopefully that would include Afghanistan, Pakistan, and India. I would hope so. Yeah. So this is a very important day. Yeah. Well, on this phone here that I'm making this video, well, I have 9 videos that are sort of short on here, and I need to then cut them out, play them on this phone and shoot them with this phone here, this one here, and make one video and get it posted up. Yeah, I need to do that. That is what I need to do. So let me put this on pause. Okay, well, before I do this, what the video I'm going to do, this is up here. So this is a short. It is Secretary of War for the United States, Pete Hegseth. Yeah, well, the reason I'm going to show it, because, he's the Secretary of War. Well, I'm a stoic warrior. I am a stoic warrior, according to the philosophy of retired Vice Rear Admiral James Bond Stockdale, who was the longest held prisoner of war of the United States in the Hanoi Hilton Hotel in Saigon and tortured by Ho Chi Minh, which was in Indo-France, and Charles de Gaulle was in charge of all that. He was, because World War II did not end at May 7th, 1945. Didn't end for the United States, because we've been in war ever since, ourselves. No, but we weren't torturing people. But Charles de Gaulle continued the battle in Indo-France, because Saigon and Vietnam had always been part of them. So we engaged de Gaulle over there. Now, they don't talk about that. They don't talk about that. Not in the news media. You'll always say Vietnam, 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 and you're not going to hear that. But this is the facts. It is the facts. And, right after World War II, the 7th day of May, 1945, Winston Churchill, he's still the Prime Minister of Great Britain, United Kingdom. Well, he keeps fighting too. He does. Well, he does. Yeah, he does. He goes back to try to keep fighting in Singapore, to do something with Singapore, because he owned Singapore. He had Singapore. He did, before the beginning of World War II. And he ignored it, left it alone, and went away. Yeah. There's a lot that happened in World War II before we got involved. In the United States, we got involved on May 7th, 1941, a day that will live in infamy. Well, but the European powers, it started before that for them. I mean, because the Japanese had started attacking the Chinese. They had. And the Koreans, the Japanese did. And conscripted people and pressed them into labor camps and drafted them into their army too, and fought all the way down through China. Mao Zedong left and went up into the countryside. He did. Well, this is why Chiang Kai-shek, this is why there's a problem with Taiwan. That's why it's a one China policy, because the Japanese came and attacked China. Mao Zedong and those people went up into the way back up in China and hid back up there. So Chiang Kai-shek, though, he threw in with the Japanese. And then toward the end of World War II, well, we, the United States people, us during World War II, part of what we did is we went up through Burma, back up in China up in there. We did. And assisted Mao Zedong up in there, fighting up in there through Burma. We did do that. Absolutely. And some Chinese people came from China and trained as pilots in the southwest part of the United States. And they flew some of our airplanes too for the Pacific Theater. We trained them in. We had bases up in China too, but they trained in Arizona. There's a lot that went on with World War II. That's all I'm saying. A lot. Well, I tell you what, I have a lot of hope that this 8th day of war that Trump called against Iran, well, I want to tell you, this is the end of this for us. I pray to God it is. The end of it. The end of us for us. I pray to God that it is. Because you see, Iran, well, Iran, let's just say the regime. We're looking to remove the regime out of there. Who is the regime? The regime is France, acting through its president, Emmanuel Macron. Yeah, it is. And it's also, well, it is still, I think it is, I believe it is. I just have to believe it is. Because I have to believe it is until I verify otherwise. So, well, if Emmanuel Macron is the president now, well, he's the president. The office of the president goes all the way back to Charles de Gaulle, the 7th day of May, 1945. So that's a continuous thing. It is. So let's just say Churchill is a continuous thing too. So, well, the regime in Iran also has to be, I can't leave out the government administration of the United Kingdom is headed up by the current prime minister. Not the queen, not the king, just that. That's who we're fighting. That's who the regime is in Iran. Yeah. So if we have an unconditional surrender from the regime, then we're good. Because they'll be done. France will be done. The government administration of His Majesty Charles III, headed up by the current prime minister, then that'll be done too. Because they're not getting involved with this. They're not. And we have not asked them to. And they're not going to. No, they're not. So that'd be good. Then that'll all be done. It will be done. We'll be done with everything then. Because we're not at a war with anybody else anywhere. No, we're not. No, so we can be at peace again. Because Richard Nixon left in 74 or 5. When Richard Nixon left, he did shuttle diplomacy all around the world. He did. He buttoned up everything as best he could everywhere there was hotspots. He did. And he had a peace thing signed between Israel and somebody else in the Mideast. He did. We were at peace. We were. Well, we were with Vietnam. We were. Well, with what you call Vietnam conflict. We were with that. Because the troops had come home. They were. But I know that de Gaulle was in there. So we're really not done. But I know they were, because I figured that all out. So everybody does their part. When you're the president of the United States, all the presidents have to continue to do their parts. whatever they can get done. Well, there isn't exactly a secret book of the presidents, not exactly. But there are people like me, too, and others that approach the presidents. If you can, you do. Well, I can do that. I actually sent a email through the White House, like you do, just a normal thing. They have a thing, White House. I just went to the website, put a couple video links, and emailed the president. That's what I did today. I also emailed emailed a gentleman. What's his name? What's his name? Tom or Tim? Tim Snyder, I think his name's Snyder. Tim Snyder. He's an author of books about presidencies and stuff like that. Well, I messaged him today through his professional website.